get down to race by race business. First stop to Rapa, where as you can see it's a beautiful day in the Waikato and the track is going to be heavy. We know that. We've got no other option this time of the year, but the man who's done all the form is Brendan Popplewell. B-Pop, good morning to you. What do you make of today? Because it's one of those days which has a slow burn feel to it and then bang, pick six, 200k. Things get awfully serious when Helena Baby comes out of the birdcage.
Yeah, exactly right, Michael. I mean, that's where maybe the pick six hopes will be pinned on that particular runner. Those that want to try and get it beat, I suppose, and see if they can get a bigger share of the 200,000. Surely it goes beyond 200,000 as well, the turbo terminating pick six today. But great interest on a very nippy, cold Te Rapa. Certainly when we're presenting from, I think we found the coldest place on the racetrack. But I think we've got a good day in front of us. So there are some horses throughout the day that we're looking forward to. You've heard from David Green. A very big chance in the first race to try and kick it off for punters as well in Flaunting. But not too long ago, I was just able to get a little bit of a read on how track conditions might pan out with track curator and Bart Cowan. Well, Bart, first of all, let's talk through conditions here today. Certainly has been a lot of rain that's fallen during the week.
Yeah, Rob, we've had 54.5 millimetres for the week. 41 of those fell on Thursday during the day, so that made it very loose. There's a lot of surface water while it was raining, like most places would be, but it's drained away overnight, and pentometer reading yesterday morning, there was no surface water, no puddles, and it was just a genuine heavy 10.
Right, we'll go back to the last meeting, 8th of June. It's probably the wettest we've seen Te Rapa in quite some time at that meeting. So how's the track pulled up post that race meeting?
Yeah, we raced it true that day. They did come wide after the second or third race that day, so they used a fair chunk of the track, but it's come back all right. You don't get a lot of germination with your seed growth this time of year, and we had that week of frost last week, which didn't help things either. But we're going to slowly work our way out for the next few to look after the inside for Foxbridge Plate Day. Okay,
so what do you sort of expect the track to play today? Do you feel as though they'll try and stay closer to the rail for those earlier races?
Oh, I think they'll stay close to the rail for the first couple, and it's going to be loose, and it's a heavy 10. It's going to be winter racing, so they'll probably go looking for better ground once they've sort of worked out a bit of a pattern for the day.
Yeah, and certainly we'll do our best as well to catch up with a number of jockeys and certainly try and get their opinion on track conditions, Michael, after the first few races, because that's important. We've got a little bit of time, I suppose, leading up to that first leg to try and get a real true assessment on how track conditions might pan out here today.
Thank you, Rob. We look forward to hearing about those.
He didn't say Rob.
On to the third on the card. This is the US Navy flag Foxbridge Plate. That's on August the 17th. By the way, of course, our sponsors are Valachi, and they've got the services of US Navy Flag. He was a hell of a 2-year-old and a very good 3-year-old, very fast horse. I actually had a chance to speak to Aidan O'Brien about him last year when I went to the Arc, just randomly. And he said to me, this is a really good horse, but I'm worried about the wet track when he came down for the Everest. But he rated him as a very, very smart horse. So look, really big bonus to get that sort of sprinter down here. So well done to Valachi with US Navy Flag. Third on the card, we see a $3 favourite in Sultan of Swing, maybe a horse we probably didn't think would be racing at this time of the year. Stephen Hunt, as we come back to you, there's not many name horses racing at this time of the season. He's one of them, but the 60 kilos, it sounds daunting. A Tiger's on to get 2 off. Has there been any love for him?
There has, Mick. Look, he's a fascinating runner. Particularly, you go back last start on the 8th of June, where he opened around about a $3.80 chance and drifted all the way out to $8 and did the job. And that resulted in a very good result for us in HQ. But at this time around at $3, I think that price is pretty solid. Punter's pretty keen to take the $3 around Sultan of Swing this time in the open handicap. With him being in the race and the rating of 94, Admiral's been well placed in the weights with that claim, that 3 kg claim to get down to 52 kilograms. All 7 wins have been on the heavy track. Opened at $6.50 when betting commenced on Wednesday. Now into that second line of $5 and holds 3 times more money than the current favourite of Sultan of Swing. So Admiral is your decent lead. Just a little bit of a question mark left-handed and form round Te Rapa, but Punter's pretty keen at the opening line of $6. And one that's speaking at longer odds, number 8, Wrangler. Now, I think it's got something to do with the Boys Get Paid Facebook page, but they're pretty keen on Wrangler at its opening line of $17 during the week. It's now in single figures at $9, and one of our biggest liabilities in that middle range quote up and down Te Rapa today.
It'll be interesting to see how the speed maps affect the racing there today, because there can be the kickback. It's a heavy track and any slow speeds could be punished because it could be awfully hard to make ground down the outside. So will the jockeys overcompensate? Here's what we think is the speed map for the third on the card. And BP, this is one of those races which initially looks easy. The 1 and the 2, the class horses of the race, they should be winning. They both get the apprentice allowance. But a horse like Endoyus or Ticket to Ride, there's enough there to make me nervous if I'm back in the top 2.
Yeah, I found this race a race where I was almost happy just to park it and watch what unfolds. But for those reasons, I mean, Sultan of Swing, as Stephen pointed out, was such a big drifter in the market here. We know his class, we know his ability, and he was very good to win this race. I've marked him on top because, look, he's won 2 from 2 here. He's shown that he's adept in what was very tricky conditions here on the track, and sort of with what was going on with the day itself as well. So he was terrific to win on this occasion. He gets a couple of kilos off down to 58 kilograms. And then you look at Admiral's form and you think, oh, gee, this horse just hasn't done it here at Te Rapa. And you always, I think now, especially in the last probably 12 to 18 months, any horse that doesn't operate here, you really have to put a mark next to, because with the number of runners that get affected by kickback. What I will say about Admiral's defeats at this venue, they have been on a good 3, a slow 7, a slow 8, a slow 7 and a slow 9. So at least he does come here today and the track is a heavy 10, and which he operates at his best on, because that's all he's won on, is a heavy track, is Admiral. Now this was his effort when winning last time to the races. He went forward at Tauranga. It was a sort of a sticky, heavy 11 in the end there out of Tauranga, but he just made the most of weight relief, and he was very hard to catch in this rating 82. We know at his best as well, he can win a stakes race, as he's done over the 1600 metres in a Karaka Classic. So he found his best form here on this occasion, where he was able to get through these conditions well enough. And does he have the right conditions here at Te Rapa to finally put some runs on the board? Look, I think so. I think today maybe he can run a race. Outside of him, yeah, I think Wrangler does have to be a chance at those odds. And obviously the $17 was snaffled because he was huge in defeat here. He nearly won at a big price. So he dropped 6.5 kilos on his last run, and obviously does step up to open grade, does Wrangler, but he does like it wet. And then I've also put Endoyus into the mix. So I could have found a space for You Want More, even though coming back to 1600 metres, very tough galloper, who just showed that toughness when winning out of Alizé, and Ticket to Ride won a midweek 72 to get back into form. But in the end, I was around the 1 and the 2, but I'm not too sure if I'm actually betting into the race, Michael.
Yeah, intriguing contest, the third on the card. Fourth on the card might actually be the race of the day. A lot of horses here who haven't finished winning in their careers yet. Super G is one of those. Seconds and thirds last time out. The Gibbs Bradley team have a really strong hand with Quizmaster in here as well. So does the Baker Forsman team. They have 3 in the race. It's a really interesting contest. Any lead for us, Stephen Hunt, as we come to you ahead of the fourth on the card over the 2200 metres? This could be the survival of the fittest.
Very keen on the son of Super Easy and Super G number 4, Mick. Open $3.60, got as short as $3.50, just back out to $3.60 to tidy up that overall percentage on option 639. Currently holds around about 70% of total turnover, a number of 4-figure bets on Super G. The slight question mark, first time on a heavy track, but looks to be peaking at the right time over a staying trip, does Super G. The second best bet runner has been the second favourite, number 1, Indigenous Union, second up. 2 of its 3 wins have been in that mode, second up for the Baker Forsman stable. $5.50 out to 6, but don't get put off by that slight drift. Quizmaster, the stablemate of the favourite, has been a notable drifter, $6.50 out to 7. Newly Sukadunis has been well supported, 11 into $7.50. Lofbroke with the blinkers on, notable drifter, 9 out to 10. And a couple of specking in the middle market, Sweet Treat, 13 to 12. Top Fluck was 14 during the week. And Where Are You? Sam Spratt, Sean Ritchie, big improver over staying trip. Maybe one to fill in the minors. Where Are You? Currently at $21 and a losing liability. But a strong lead around number 4, Super G.
It'll be hard to beat. The speed map here, probably not as relevant as for some of the shorter distance races for the day, because this will be the case of who handles it for the longest up to 2200 metres. BP, that's about as neutral as a speed map gets.
Isn't it just? You would imagine that Pursuit's the one that probably presses on and goes forward. Did exactly that in an amateur riders race out of Te Araha when last presented. Yeah, Super G, I think despite the unknown about this horse going on this sort of ground, he does look to have certainly a lot of ability. He was tested as a 3-year-old, of course, in the Karaka Mile on Karaka Million Night. They've always held him in reasonable regard. This is his effort around Ruakaka, where he was just locked away in a tricky position, had to sort of work away, come across heels, and was just held up for a fraction. And then once he was able to get mobile, Red Dynamo was up front, and he was the winner of the race. So he's attacked the line strongly here over the 1,600 metres, has Super G, and he's up to the 2,200 metres. I found him as the best bet on the program. Obviously, Helena Baby is $1.50 and is probably a sort of horse you can count as a best bet as well. But in terms of a value chance of a best bet, I thought it might have been around him in Super G. Marked him on top for the day. Indigenous Union is a horse who does go over more distance. We've seen this horse win over an island over 2,000 metres and won here over 2,100 metres and 2,040 metres, and has won second up twice. So he's a big improver in the race, I thought, Indigenous Union, with 2 kilos coming off the back. Nelly Segundis takes her position in this race. It is in good form for Nick Bashara, and also runner number 3 in Quizmaster. Just a note as well, Michael, Rowena Smythe will not be riding here on the program, and in this race, Icy Red will now be ridden by Taylor Wen, of course rode in the Monty last night aboard Burt Munro to finish into second position.
Yeah, that'd be an unusual one. I would suggest riding a decent galloper today, and of course having ridden in the Monty last night at Alexandra Park. On to the 5th on the card, and gee, there's been a move here. There's been some money for Super Hoof. It doesn't have an awful lot of experience for Glenn Old, but it definitely has the ability by the look of this. And we come to you, Stevie. It's been $4.80 to $3.80. Is it hard money, or is it just, speculating?
I think it's pretty good money. Astute money around number 3, Super Hoof, who did the job in maiden class on this track, and ratings out of that particular race suggest it can win at this level at rating 65 for Super Hoof. Now, Super Hoof and Beaujeu went out $4.80 each of 2 yesterday, Mick, and it's all about Super Hoof. I'm not saying Beaujeu is friendless, but in terms of dollars invested between the two, Super Hoof 3 times more money than Beaujeu. So Beaujeu $4.80 up to 5, still well supported, but just a lot of money around Super Hoof in the first 24 hours to get its price from $4.80 now as short as 3.8. Stilton 7 out to 750 on the warm support on the favourite. Dr. Hank, a horse that likes to put himself in the race, well specced in that 4th line of betting, 11 into 10. Vera Drake's been a notable drifter, 10 out to $13. And Van Diamond winning the Spectre horse from barrier 15 customers, 13. Got as high as 16 back into $14, currently a losing liability. But outside that, there's not too much to speak of. Punters very keen on number 3, Super Hoof, to go through the grades. Let's
look at the speed map for the 5th on the card. This is the penultimate before we get into pick 6. We're thinking there's quite a few can go forward here, so it could be a true tempo. Super Hoof potentially one of those. BP, as I come to you, look, it's an unknown at 2,100 metres, obviously. It's up from the 1,600 metres win last start, but it's by Cape Blanco, so you would suggest if it's going to do anything in life, it'll probably stay.
Yeah, and looking, we spoke to Glenn Old pre that win of Super Hoof, and he did suggest that this horse is a stayer in the making, and gee, won like a horse who went right through the line by winning by a big margin, by nearly 8.5 lengths here, Super Hoof. So that's why they've pressed up in distance now and back to the same venue where they got it done, 4 weeks ago. So big player in the race, and especially if it's playing to those that are up front and can find that up front position. I was happy to give Vera Drake just a little chance in the race. Is pushing out in the market, as Stephen pointed out, from $10s out to $13, but is a horse that I think will appreciate the distance. Just never got that pinch of luck out of Pukekohe Park when last presented. Does have to work off an awkward barrier draw, but was a horse that was good enough to be around the UK, sort of been placed in some staying races, and in fact 12 months ago to the day was actually running second at Doncaster. Over 2,400 metres was Vera Drake. So, look, I'll pop it into the numbers. I'll go 14, 3, 7 and 1.
Okay, the next on the card is the race which is probably the most important race of the day for many of you watching at home. It's the first leg of our terminating Turbo Pick 6. $200,000. It'll probably be more than that by the time we get to the final pool just before 3 o'clock at 2:49. And Helena Baby has had 3 starts on wet tracks and has won by an average of 5 lengths. Stephen Hunt, as I come back to you, I can't imagine there's been too much money for Helena Baby, but I know it's $1.50. I reckon it might carry 80% of the Pick 6 money.
Yeah, you could be right there, Mick. At this stage, in the option number of 643, it's only holding around about 10%, and look, that will climb, no doubt. We've seen a trend around Helena Baby at a similar quote in its last 2 starts at HQ and etc., where they've come late in the last 30 to 40 minutes. We see those 4-figure bets, so we're pretty happy to play the patient game around that $1.50 quote. There's around about 900 multis running through him. That will climb close to 2,000, and In the punters' eyes, hopefully a lot of those multis will be alive at the back end of the program at Te Rapa. Look, Paisley Park, notable drifter, 550 out to 6. Back to 7 furlongs will suit this horse, but punters suggesting its ratings early in the career, it's just tailed off a little bit as it's gone up in the grade. So 550 out to 6, notable drifter. Scarfy, solid, 8 out to 850, but it's solid enough that they can cause a little bit of an upset round Scarfy. The two that they do like, one of them being Money Trail, which I mentioned at the top of the show, could have got as high as $23. You would have thought we would have learnt our lesson 2 weeks ago, but not particular in this race around Money Trail. 23 was as short as 14 this morning. The money continues to flow now at that $10 quote. And Mars Bars, look, Alan Sharrock wouldn't come up to Te Rapa for a picnic, and he normally targets this particular northern meeting, Te Rapa, and that's been well spec'd. 15 got as high as $16 to $14. So there's a couple that they like in that middle range, which you want if you want to take a spread in the first leg of the pick 6 out, Helena Baby. You could be looking at Scarfy, Money Trail and Mars Bars.
Spoke to John Bell, the trainer of Helena Baby, at length yesterday. He did suggest to me the horse is potentially a Group 1 horse. It won't be seen here. Stephen's good news for your bookmakers. He won't be seen here. Likely to head to Opunake Cup and then head offshore to Hong Kong. He thinks the horse will win today. He's very confident it is at least as good as it was heading to Ellerslie last start, where it absolutely thrashed Obsessive. Here's the speed map. He was thinking it'd be nice and handy to the speed, Helena Baby, and therefore no kickback factor for it. BP, I'll make this simple for you, brother. Are you going to anchor this in pick 6?
I think so, yes. Because you go through the other legs, where else can you chop it down? I mean, Code Cracker maybe in the next race. Awapuni, no. There's you can't sort of anchor anything in those 3 races. You're going to need some spreads. So just for the case of not having to ring up the bank manager to put on a pick 6 and take other runners in this race, we'll try and make it a bit easier for yourself and maybe just ring the wife and just say, look, I'm taking a pick 6 and I'm anchoring Helena Baby. So that's what I've done. Exactly that, actually. This is Helena Baby when winning last time to the races, wins by a good margin, puts them away. Look, he's got it all, hasn't he? Yes, he needs to be able to position up on speed, because you wouldn't want to probably get back and get all that kickback in your face. That would be one little thing, because he hasn't been at this venue. If you wanted to find anything against the horse this afternoon, he hasn't experienced that. But if he sits outside leader, he's the best horse in the race. Hence why he's so short at $1.50 and he picks himself. So anchor for most in pick 6. If you take anything else, what do you take? I mean, you sort of end up having to pick about 3 or 4 others, don't you? You're looking Paisley Park's an option, Money Trail, yes, because the money's come for the horse again, great on this track condition, and then probably Scarfy as well. So it's not just a case of thinking, yeah, I can just pick one more and hopefully that covers it. You almost need like 3 or 4 others outside of Helena Baby. So to keep your costs down and to keep everybody happy, Helena Baby will my anchor in pick 6.
Yep, I'm with you. Taking a pick 6 with my brothers this morning, and yeah, I've anchored Helena Baby. It's really hard to go past it and could be lost to our shores very shortly. I thought the 7th on the card was really intriguing. There's a few horses here with last start wins, which is always nice in winter because, you know, they're copying the heavy tracks. And Code Cracker has been backed in a little bit, 360 to 310. Is that just money, Stephen, or is that the market tightening for another reason?
A lot of it is the money, Mick. 310 you see there, an option 644 off a peak of $3.60. Look, I think it's found its bottom mark, 310, so there is potential this horse could drift. We're just starting to see in the last 30 to 60 minutes a little bit of action around Code Cracker, but clearly during the week and early stages this morning in the first half an hour of trading, it was all about Code Cracker. But I think, as I mentioned just before, 310 might be its bottom mark. Red Beach, look, it's a little bit friendless compared to Cherry Lane. Cherry Lane sits in that 3rd line, Mick, but it's currently the 2nd best back runner for Nick Bashara. Opened at $7.50, got as high as $8 Friday afternoon. It's been well supported this morning at 6.5, so maybe one of those horses you want to include in your pick 6. Sarah Banda, who loves Te Rapa, 10 into 7, well spec'd, and Falkirk Lass, which I mentioned again at the top of the show around those pick 6 well-backed commodities. Falkirk Lass, well supported, looking to go 2 on the bounce here. Inside gate, so interesting to see how that rail plays, but Falkirk Lass opened at $21, now trading at $8.50. So overall, well-supported Code Cracker. Think it's found its mark. They're willing to spec a couple, including Cherry Lane, Sarah Bande and Falkirk Lass.
Let's check out the speed map here, but gee, I don't know if this is going to be definitive. It's going to be a really tricky race. There's a lot of horses here who are fit, last start winners, or have had good form recently. It's I thought BP, this was a leg where I know it's only a small field and I hate wasting selections in a small field, but you might need 4 or 5.
I think so. I think if you're just trying to have a little small play in the pick six and you want to say that you're involved and you haven't quite got the spend or the mates to be able to try and chime in, well, Code Cracker is the horse that you probably consider as a second anchor for the program. This is the effort when presented last time to the races out of Tauranga 2 weeks ago. It was beaten by Good Vibes, who stuck close to the rail, and we saw a couple of horses that were able to do that here at Tauranga and went round at nearly $40. Code Cracker tried very hard to try and pick up this horse late on the line, but I think suited back to here, where we did see the horse winning at this venue, which was a gun ride by Michael Coleman on that occasion from an inside gate. He was able to work away from the rail where they were scouting on that occasion, and she was very, very dominant. So this is her effort when finishing second. Also, Polly Gray could play a part in terms of tempo in the race. So I also thought Cherry Lane's another horse who can position up on speed as well. So there could be a little rush for horses trying to find that spot up front. Red Beach is a horse you can race handy. And then, of course, from that same meeting that we've just seen there, Falkirk Lass stayed close to that rail and was able to come underneath all runners and be victorious. This is Sarah Banday when the pattern on this occasion just changed from what was happening throughout the day, where it was all about being up and in on the 8th of June. On this occasion, we saw horses scouting out wide, and that being, Sarah Banday and also Wrangler, who does a chance in that open handicap, as we've heard from Stephen, where there's been some sizable bets. She can be in or out, this horse, but if she can find this form again on this surface, I think she's a must for the pick six for trainer Jim Collett and Reece Jones doing the riding. So I've got her high in my numbers, Sarah Banday. I went with the 4 on top, Code Cracker. Cherry Lane, I was impressed with how she got through those conditions at Tiaraha. She's one who made in here at this venue. Informed trainer Nick Bashara, and just bear in mind, no Rowena Smythe this afternoon, so Andrew Calder now takes the ride on that runner. Sarah Banday a must. And then I was sort of thinking Red Beach and maybe Falkirk Lass. And like you, Michael, smallish field, but all thinking maybe 4 or 5 runners might be needed.
It doesn't look easy, as does the last on the card. Here's the market for the 8th, which is the 5th leg of our pick six today, the Terminating Turbo. Each of two, $6, So Wicked and Symbio, but look, there's a whole bunch here who have winning chances. Interested, Stephen, in Leitana. Any love for it? Same combination as we saw last week with iGrain, with Robert Prescott and the Trelawney colours going on here. Any chance Leitana's had a bit of love?
Would have liked to see a little bit more money, to be honest. Back around number 6, Leitana. BP mentioned on the podcast yesterday that the same connections, trainer and owners, won this race with iGrain 12 months ago at Te Rapa. So they're looking to go 12 months again, same result. But just would have seen a little bit more money. Maybe we opened it a fraction too short. Be interesting to see how that money trades throughout the afternoon around the UK import. But at $8, I believe it will touch double figures in the next hour or so. Back at the top of the box, Symbio and So Wicked, $6 each of 2. They match dollar for dollar without any clear lead. Look, this race did turn up upside down with one Madison coming out as it heads towards Avondale midweek on Wednesday. But Symbio with side winkers. We saw a lot of attraction for this horse as soon as we opened the market. So I think this horse can go through the grades with the side winkers on. And So Wicked, who's been racing pretty honest at 65 company, believe they get a winning turn here. Wooden Edge, well, what do you do? It's been one of our best pals in the last 2 years. The first year it was racing, it was in favour of the Punters, Mick, but in the last 12 to 18 months, Wooden Edge hasn't really been on the winning side for the Punters, but with that wide gate, they believe it's not far away from a winning turn. It was opened at $10, with the scratchings got as short as $8 this morning, now trading at 7.5. And a little bit of speaking for Grand Ariana, which I mentioned earlier in the show, and Little Shirley, if you want to boil over in the pick six and clean up the pool, opened at $26, now trading at 18.
Yeah, very interesting race. I thought lots of depth here and lots of in-form horses, BP. There's the speed map. I thought Grand Ariana's one they stuffed up. I know we don't see too many Te Akau horses racing in the depths of winter, but once it got to the outside last time, it seemed to make pretty good ground. Chelsea Burden will know the horse, 3 kilos off. I think it's a must for pick six. As I said, even though we don't see the Tangerine Army out and about this time of the year much.
No, you don't. And look, I agree with you. If you've got the spend, throw it in. I think there's a few horses in this race that you start marking off and think, I need this, I need this, I need this. So it's a matter of where you can chop it down at Awapuni maybe for this leg, which will be leg number 5. A couple I did like. Leitana is the runner we want to show you, though, because this is the import, and was a horse who won at the trials and did a nice effort when winning in the inside track trials here when picking them up. So interest around that runner with the same eye-grain connections. Wooden Edge. Well, I mean, look, he's a horse that's got all the form lines, but the last time this horse won, Adam was frolicking through the grass. So just what will happen today with Wooden Edge, back to a rating 65. So he's in my numbers, and then you've also got So Wicked and maybe Tuta La Classe as well, who doesn't mind the wet track conditions. But again, I think with having to anchor Helena Baby gives you an opportunity to try and take a bigger spread through these last couple of legs. Let's have a look at a strategy for you. This is all pre-pick 6, the strategy. I'm going to go with my best bet in Super G, and I do like a couple as a value chance today. Anatolia in race number 2. An unlucky galloper at Ruakaka when last presented. Goes up to 1,600 metres. They're taking the blinkers off, but was very good here at this venue behind Cherry Lane 2 starts ago. Happy to have a spec on her at a nice price. And Vera Drake in race number 5. Has to overcome an awkward barrier draw, but the horse certainly will appreciate more distance, and she never really got a fair crack at them over more distance when last presented. So I'll put 60 to win on Super G and gone each way around Anatolia and Vera Drake. And there's some thoughts around a pick 6 as well. And Michael, we'll pass it back to you because we'll touch base with Bevan Sweeney, see what he's got for us, and see if we can try and tear this pick 6 apart.
BP, before you go, I've got a favour to ask you, my friend. I'm sure you've come across my brother, Racing Carrot, on Twitter at some stage.
Yes, I have.
It's my brother's birthday. It's Lyndon's birthday today. Or Graham's birthday, sorry. Can you wish Graham can you say happy birthday, Carrot, for me?
All right, Racing Carrot. Gee, you're a beaut on Twitter as well, Carrot, and we love your tweets, and we hope that you have a fantastic birthday out there. Go well, champ. Hope you get pick 6.